The terrorist state, which is still called Russia for now, shot down an Azerbaijan Airlines passenger plane over Chechnya. The flight was operating the Baku, Grozny route. But then something went wrong and the plane headed to an alternate airfield in Kazakhstan, where it crashed to the ground. The passenger plane was shot down by Russian air defense. Holes from the fragments of an anti-aircraft missile are clearly visible on the wreckage of the plane. Surviving passengers claim that before landing in Grozny, they heard explosions outside the aircraft. And it was at that very moment that Grozny's air defense was repelling a drone attack.
Something exploded next to the plane, and its fragments, some large, some small, but mostly small, which basically matches the composition of the well, the fragments meaning the warhead of an anti-aircraft missile.
Most likely, the plane was attacked by a Ponzius-zone system. The control systems failed and the cabin depressurized. This is yet another crime committed by Moscow. And how does the Kremlin behave when it's caught red-handed? It starts lying a lot and shamelessly. The story with the Azerbaijani Embraer 190 was an exact repeat of what happened with the Malaysian Boeing shot down over Donbass in 2014. Rosaviatia immediately claimed that the plane was damaged as a result of a collision with a flock of birds. Of course, that can happen, but in this case, it sounds like a mockery of common sense. I'd be curious to see the kind of birds that could cause such damage. Perhaps there is an unknown species of Chechen finch that explodes at the side of an airplane. Or maybe there are some undiscovered woodpeckers that literally pecked through the fuselage in search of logic. I don't say that this isn't the case. Will that do? Do you know it again? Subtitles by Dima Torzak next. Once again, following their usual playbook, Moscow started throwing out a bunch of different versions. And the dumber the theories, the better. It was exactly the same with the Malaysian Boeing, a Ukrainian fighter jet defying the laws of physics, a Spanish air traffic controller, and a cabin full of corpses.
Posts appeared on social media from Spanish controller Carlos, who directed the Boeing 777.
Ukrainian planes were briefly escorting the civilian Boeing shortly before it disappeared from radar, reported a dispatcher at Kyiv airport.
This is done to muddy the waters and distract from the real cause of the disaster. Amid the flood of fantastic, unbelievable theories, even the main version loses credibility.
The landing net never lies. That's not nice.
After the armor-piercing birds, new theories emerged about an oxygen tank explosion in the plane's cabin. But then how was the plane damaged from the outside? Don't ask yourself this pointless question. The oxygen tank is a classic example of a distraction.
The main version of what happened is a collision with birds. According to some reports, there was an explosion on the plane.
Then it turned out that the Azerbaijani airliner was shot down by a Ukrainian drone. And no one seems bothered by the fact that the drone flies 3 times slower than the Embraer and is designed to hit ground targets. The main thing here is that Ukrainians can be blamed for everything.
You can't go against nature, your mother-in-law, or the Ukrainians.
The final chord was the Russian side's statement about a technical malfunction of the plane. And this version is now being considered the main one. Checkmate to your own eyes. The plane was riddled with holes because of a technical malfunction. So, according to Moscow's main version, the Azerbaijanis themselves are to blame, and maybe a little bit the Brazilians who manufactured this plane.
This is just really disgraceful.
But the Embraer 190 is actually a fairly new model. with high safety ratings. There have only been 2 recorded accidents, and in both cases they were due to crew error. The press service of Azerbaijan Airlines, of course, thought this was nonsense, but Fozerico told TASS news agency that the crashed plane was manufactured in 2013 and underwent its last full technical inspection in October 2024.
As noted in the airline statement, since the last inspection, the plane had flown 671 hours.
Basically, there's no point in discussing any other theories. There is only one possibility. The Azal plane was operating the Baku-Grozny flight. As it was approaching the capital of Chechnya, it was hit by an air defense missile, possibly mistaken for a drone, because at that very time there was an air raid on the North Caucasus.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Right.
The exact place and time the airliner was shot down are even known. It could have been hit in the sky over the Norsky district, where an air defense unit is stationed. The missile strike occurred 18 kilometers north of Grozny airport, at an altitude of about 2,500 meters. It is known that these air defense units are equipped with the Pantsir Zone system. Coincidence? I don't think so. The sequence of events is also confirmed by the surviving passengers. The survivor, Subkhankul Rakimov, managed to give an interview to Russia Today.
By my count, he tried to land twice. But then the third time, something exploded.
Inside the plane?
There was an explosion. I wouldn't say it was inside the plane.
Notice how the propagandist is trying to push the version about an explosion inside the plane.
Inside the plane?
An explosion.
But the passenger is certain that the impact came from outside.
The vest took it, and I see there's a hole in the vest, pierced by a fragment. After that explosion, well, I think the fragment flew right between my legs and hit it, went straight through the vest. There's a hole in my vest. I even recorded it on my phone, maybe somewhere over there. It hit the side of the plane, maybe right next to it. But there was an explosion and fragments.
Another passenger, Zao Mamedov, also spoke about the explosions. He claims there were several of them. After that, they flew for a couple of hours and then crashed.
Don't worry. Our plane crashed and broke apart. I'm alive. Somewhere in Kazakhstan. Yeah, God saved me. Register. Man, for about 2 hours, I don't even remember exactly how long I was traveling, flying, and I was waiting for my death, thinking it would happen any moment.
A completely clear picture emerges. The Russian air defense damages the Azerbaijani plane, after which it directs it to an alternate airfield in Makhachkala. But landing there is impossible because of the fog. So they send it to Aktau in Kazakhstan. And this is strange. Why didn't they send it back to Azerbaijan? The distance from Makhachkala to Baku is only 30 kilometers farther than to Aktau. But the valiant and determined Russian air traffic controllers, showing remarkable composure, sent the damaged, poorly controlled plane to fly across the vast Caspian Sea to a small, local airfield in a third country, instead of landing it at the modern, well-equipped international airport in Baku, which has all the necessary equipment and infrastructure to handle such emergency incidents.
I don't know.
It's very simple. Moscow did not want the plane to fall into Azerbaijani hands, because then the cause of the disaster would have been immediately revealed. The aircraft, risking the lives of those on board, was sent to Kazakhstan, which is a military ally of Russia. There they will try to cover up at least some details of the crime. Of course, if the plane had landed in Makhachkala or crashed into the Caspian Sea, we would never have learned the truth. They would have told us that the Azerbaijani plane was shot down by Ukrainian combat geese equipped with anti-aircraft mosquitoes.
Such a drone transports a container with many mosquito carriers of infections to a designated area and releases them.
But Kazakhstan is not Russia, and videos and photos confirming the real causes of the tragedy immediately appeared online. Even the most fanatical Z propagandists admit that Moscow has blood on its hands. The Telegram channel Fighter Bomber mocks the Kremlin's many absurd versions and acknowledges the obvious. The bird story has been dealt with, and the appearance of this video was only a matter of time. For a while, they'll keep pushing pointless theories like a drone, an air defense missile, or a bomb in the luggage compartment. But I don't think that will last long. The tragedy happened again because Moscow was never punished for the Malaysian Boeing. Impunity inevitably leads to repeat offenses. This disaster is a wake-up call for all airlines that for some reason are still flying over the swamps. Russia is a war zone, at least up to the Ural Mountains, and as we can see, Moscow isn't particularly concerned about flight safety.
I would like to remind you that this video is created for entertainment purposes and contains elements of satire and irony. All facts and events are presented in a hyperbolized or exaggerated form to convey a comedic or dramatic effect. Our goal is not to mislead, but to highlight humor. Please take it with a smile.